Were there times that you felt like giving up?
Oh, yes. Um, I
Can
mean,
you tell me a little bit about some of those moments and what kept you going?
You are listening to NIMDA Talk.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. I'm excited to join you once again. It's a pleasure. I think the weather is getting warmer here, and so life is getting better and better every day. I hope you are doing well. I hope the new year is going well so far. Today, we have another very interesting conversation. I have another guest. I have my friend Jennifer Ehuaria joining us all the way from Canada. Hello, Jennifer. How are you?
Hi, Albert. I'm doing well, thank you.
All right. What time of the day is it? Is it morning? Is it afternoon? Is it evening?
It's currently afternoon here in Canada.
Okay.
Sorry, yes.
All right. So we're happy that you will join us today. For our guests and our listeners who do not know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, definitely. So my name is Jennifer Ehiraria. I'm a physician. Currently internal medicine physician doing her residency at the University of Ottawa, and it's my residency year 1. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, for everyday people like us, being a physician and doing residency means that you are a medical doctor. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Is that something you enjoy?
Yes, I do. I do enjoy being a physician.
I
Absolutely.
heard you guys are very busy. Is that correct?
Yes, you're not far from the truth. Yes, we are busy. I mean, just like anyone who has a job. Um, yeah, because of course, being a physician means taking care of, I guess, sick patients. So,
Mhm.
and that means that we are always on the go. We do have times when we're resting, so we're not always working. But yes, very busy.
Okay. So talk to me about that. Now, I grew up in Ghana, and like most of the children in my generation growing up, we all had dreams of becoming medical doctors and engineers and all the fancy professions. But unfortunately, some of us were not smart enough. How was it like for you? How was growing up? Have you always wanted to go into that profession? Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and growing up?
Yes, Albert. So I remember when I was still a child, and I think I was um maybe 9. I initially wanted to be a lawyer. Okay, so it wasn't medicine from the get-go. At that time, I remember talking to my parents about being a lawyer. But as time went on, something happened. I don't know what happened. It just shifted to medicine, and there was no particular person in my life that made me want to switch. But I just found myself wanting medicine as well. So that kind of led me into the sciences. By the time I got to secondary school, you could either be in the arts class or the sciences or the commercial class. So I ended up in the sciences with the goal of becoming a physician. So yeah, so that's how that panned out for me.
Mm,
There was really no role model. There was really no. I honestly don't know where that inspiration came, but I just wanted to be all of a sudden. Yeah.
okay, so it wasn't like you said, having a role model it was more like an innate desire that you had. Did you grow up? Where did you grow up? Was it in Nigeria? Which part of Nigeria? How was growing up like for you?
Growing up was okay. I grew up in Nigeria,
Okay.
particularly Lagos State. So spent most of my, time in Nigeria and in Lagos. The only time I wasn't in Lagos was when I went on to secondary school because I went to a boarding school for my secondary education, and I was somewhere in Delta State. was in a federal government girls' college, Ibuzo, Delta State. So that's where I had my secondary education. And of course, after that, I came back to Lagos. Okay. And so pretty much grew up, in Lagos City itself. Yeah.
So when you finish your high school education, you moved to Canada. Is that correct?
Very correct. Yes. So I had my high school education in Nigeria. I didn't go to university in Nigeria. So by the time I moved to Canada, I still had it in me to become a physician. I still wanted to, of course. So at the time when I moved to Canada, the plan for me, or at least the plan I had for myself, was to settle in, become a permanent resident in Canada, at least before going on to pursue further education. And of course, with the goal still to become a physician. So I did that, and of course, I began to ask around as to, how could I achieve this dream of mine? And so we're speaking to a lot of people. We're speaking even to a counselor. I was encouraged to, at least I had to have a first degree first. So the way it works in North America, before you go into medical school, I'm not sure if that's the case now, is that the average medical student would have some kind of first degree. So that's where I was. So by the time I finished working, got the PR, began to seek information as to how to achieve this desire. I was told that, think about a first degree. And at that point, I began to think about nursing. Nursing, yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, just take me a step back, okay? Take me a step up. I'm really interested in this part of our conversation. So think about it. I know you said you lived in Lagos and you came to Canada. Were you? I mean, I'm sure you ate a lot of eba in Nigeria, right? Was it something you enjoyed?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
My best food, and still remains my best meal, is rice. So any form
Oh,
that rice comes in, and so what I still love to have. Occasionally I do have the cravings to eat the eba you talked about. We also have
right.
pound, we have amala, and food like that. But I still love
So you're a
rice.
rice person. So
Yeah.
how's the transition from eating? I can just assume you were eating Ghanaian jollof in Nigeria. How was the tra how was the transition coming into Canada? Were there any things that surprised you? Was the Canada that you heard about in Nigeria the same as the Canada that you arrived in? Like what was the transition like for you?
Okay, just to start it up with the food. I mean, when I moved to Canada, because I moved close to my family, so I wasn't necessarily missing the Nigerian kind of delicacies.
Right.
But the one thing I found was that it was difficult for me to eat the usual burgers that they have now, that I can
Mhm.
eat now consume. At that time, I found it to be so weird that people would eat bread and meat. I was like, what's this? But so, but the one thing that was a shocker to me, because I came in the winter months,
Okay.
January 2005, and of course that was the first time experiencing winter.
Mhm.
I couldn't imagine a country that would be that cold. I do remember before heading down to Canada that my mom had done her due diligence. Mom, if you're
Mhm.
listening, God bless you. She went ahead and she bought all the winter gears for me.
Mhm.
And I looked at this stuff and I was like, why do I have to wear this? You wouldn't believe what I did. I actually put those things underneath the box. Like, when you arrange your clothes, the first
Right.
layer of clothes. So, so I put those winter gears, the jacket, the mittens, just underneath the box, and I put my clothes on top of it. And so here I was trotting through the airport. I got up, came out from the airport, and I just went out, took a few steps out, and I was greeted with this gush of wind. I couldn't believe myself. So I ran back into the airport, threw my box on the floor, frantically searching for, these attires that were supposed to keep me warm.
Right.
Before I knew what was happening, my hands were so frozen.
Oh wow, that's an interesting story. I guess Canada welcomed you with icy hands, and so I'm I'm glad you enjoyed that. I hope. So once that transitionary period was over, you went to university, and you got a nursing degree. Was that
Yes,
was that the path you took?
yes, that was the part I took. Remember, I said I had to,
Hmm.
speak to a guidance counselor.
Right.
Um, I was coming into the country with just a high school um diploma from in Nigeria,
Hmm.
and they had recommended, of course, we do have to get a first degree. But before doing that, I was
Hmm.
also told to maybe I could start with getting a pre-health science, diploma as well, certificate diploma. And so I did that at Fanshawe College. It was a 8 month pre-health science program that I did, and after which I was eligible to apply to any of the sciences or any of the programs that were available. It was at that time that I then applied into the nursing program.
Okay, so congratulations. Now you are a nurse. I do have a very soft spot for nurses because my mom was a nurse for over 30 years. So, how did it feel for you after you graduated from nursing school and you were the newest nurse in Ontario? How was that for you?
I mean, it was such an important, I guess I would say milestone. I mean, I was so
Okay.
excited. I remember even before getting into nursing itself, I kind of fought the idea because, of what I knew nursing to be back home. My mom is
Hmm.
actually a nurse as well.
Okay.
She's retired. But when I graduated from nursing, I was very happy. I was happy that I had accomplished this, and I was able to dream or at least look into the future as to what next I wanted to do. Because at the time when I was into nursing school, remember I still had the dream of becoming a physician. But I was told at that time, you know what, Jen, take it one step at a time. If you say to yourself, okay, yes, I want to become a physician now, without breaking it down into chunks, it will be overwhelming.
Okay.
You won't be able to see the end, the end picture. But if you take it one at a time, get the first degree, and then of course with prerequisites, if you're lucky to have done those, and then look ahead to what next to get you to that goal of being a physician. So I was definitely happy, and I was looking forward to what was next for me.
Would you say you were a good nurse?
Absolutely. I think I was one of the best nurses. I did love my patients. I put in the work. I showed up to work. I put it in. In fact, I remember even before I wrote my nursing board exams, I already had a job waiting for me. So that's to show you how good I was.
So um how long did you work as a nurse? And at what point did you decide that it is time to move on to something else?
So I graduated in 2013. So I worked up until that time, to 2016. I guess it was at the 2015th year that I decided to think deeply about what my goals were. Okay. I knew that for sure I wanted to become a physician, because at this time already I was working with physicians, of course. I was, exposed to their day. I saw what they did, and I wanted to be, what I saw. And so that kind of pushed me into trying to investigate, the possible routes to get into where I my heart desire to get to. Yeah.
Would you say that being around physicians was a motivation for you?
Yes, it was. In fact, it made that motivation stronger, because I was able to relate with it. I saw it. I mean, like I said, I saw them every day. I interacted with them. I saw what they did, and I would often imagine myself in their shoes. So yes, it definitely was a great motivation for me to go ahead and pursue that dream.
Okay, so here you are, Jennifer, nurse extraordinaire, like you are saying, for a couple years, and then you had now decided to pursue your dream of being a physician.
Yes.
How did you, in a very practical way, pursue that dream? What did you do?
So of course, at that point, I had to decide where was I going to get this education
Okay.
at, so, and of course, like I said earlier, I had to begin to investigate the various options that were available to me. I could stay back in Canada and pursue this, dream of mine. I could go to the States, the Caribbean was also an option. And of course, the Irish route was also an option as well. So I did end up going the Irish way to get
What do you
that.
mean by the Irish way? For some of us who don't know what that is, you mean you go to Ireland to get your medical education?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
so I'll tell you how I came about that, because one day
Okay.
I was working, as one of the wonderful nurses on the unit.
Mhm.
I was at work one particular day, and there was this medical student who had come in to do some kind of elective rotation at our facility. And she was asking me for a few questions. So I kind of noticed that she was not from around here, because she was asking me questions that, ideally doctors or students who are used to our system would know. Okay, so by the time I was done helping her with what she needed, I had to ask her, "Oh, are you from, where are you from? Are you from Western?" Because Western was the university affiliated with our hospital at that time. And she was like, "No, I'm not from Western. I'm from Ireland. I'm from Dublin." I was like, "Oh, okay. So are you here on exchange?" And then she went ahead to tell me what she was here for. She came here for an elective, and trying to tell me how long she's going to be there for. I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And she told me what school she was affiliated with. And so I thanked her for the information. And that very day at nighttime, I went, Googling as usual.
Wow.
About yeah.
So you just went and then continue the story. It sounds very interesting. So you help somebody out in the hospital. You notice that they are not from this part of your part of the world. You start a conversation. They tell you where they went to school.
Yes.
And then you go home that night.
Yes.
You don't sleep. You stay up, and then you Google. What happened then?
Okay, so basically, she told me about her school.
Right.
She's attending the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland. Okay, and so I quickly put that down, went home, and then I Googled research, read up a bit about her school and, the other universities that were also in Ireland offering the same medical program. And so by the time I did that, I began to look at the prerequisites for application. Just so you know, as well, for those of you who are listening, I'd also done the same due diligence. At this time, I didn't really know much about the Irish pathway. I was very familiar with the Canadian, American, also the Caribbean pathway to medical education.
So you actually got admitted, and then you did your medical education in Ireland.
Okay, so my medical school education itself was done in a country called the Kingdom of Bahrain.
Okay.
It happens to have a sister campus. So the main campus is in Dublin.
Okay.
They have a sister campus in the Middle East and the country of Bahrain. So that's where I spend most of my time as a medical.
How was it? How was the period of how long was it, and how was it for you?
My progress at the time when I went in, it was for 5 years.
Okay.
Looking back right now, it looks like it went by so fast.
It did?
Yes. I look back and I wonder where all the time went. But the one thing that I remember very clearly was that the first year seemed a bit easier for me, maybe because I had a background in nursing. So when it came to communicating with patients and just being in that zone, I was very comfortable doing it. And my colleagues would go, "Wow, you're so good at this stuff," But in retrospect, it was definitely that background, that nursing background, that helped me initially as a first year and throughout medical school as well.
Were there times that you felt like giving up?
Oh, yes. I
Can
mean,
you tell me a little bit about some of those moments and what kept you going?
yes. So there were times, because I mean, just like as I guess most of educational programs or college degree, there'll be times where you ask yourself, what am I doing here? You know, am I in the right place? Like, am I supposed to be doing this? Why is this, seeming so difficult? Why am I having less hours of sleep than the average person out there?
Yeah.
So, but the one thing that kept me going was the fact that I asked myself, if not this, then what else?
Okay.
If not this, what else? I had left a thriving career. Just so we are aware, I was thriving in my career as a nurse. So that thought itself was what kept me going. The fact that there was nothing else, nowhere else, no other career that I saw myself doing. So it cannot help me stick to it.
I think you are. What you've said right now is I think it's very insightful in terms of achieving your dreams and the fact that you had only one eye, to put it idiomatically, you had only one eye, and that singular focus was what gave you a lot of strength. That's very insightful, because I know a lot of people, friends and colleagues, sometimes myself inclusive, where sometimes you take decisions and you experience some challenges along the way, and you start questioning yourself. You start questioning why you are, especially when you don't do it under duress, like you were saying. So having that singular purpose and passion seems to make a lot of difference, would you say?
Absolutely. And I think with anything that anyone does, as long as you're not coerced into it,
Right.
I think once you have a singular reason, it's that reason that's going to keep you going. As what people always say, what's in it for you? Find out what that is. Because in times, because you will have times where you actually doubt yourself. You will have someone you actually ask, should I even be here? You have times when you have, because of course, I had, as a nurse, there were times when patients were, less than kind to me, as a nurse. So sometimes I also experienced that as a medical student. And on those times too, you would ask yourself, why am I in healthcare? Why do I have to take this? So those are the kind of things that comes with the job. In fact, it was in medical school that I realized that the average patient who is being mean to you, and not necessarily mean because they want to. A lot of them are acting out of that space of being ill. And of course, how do you know that what I just said was true? When they get better, you see a different person. You see a person who is thanking you for all the care that you provided. You see a person saying to you, oh my goodness, you're my angel. The same person who a few days ago had, crashed you out, stuff like that. So I always tell people, and maybe sometimes tell my colleagues too, don't take it too personal. Sometimes just wait till they get better. You will see a different person.
Oh, good. I think that's good advice, not only for medical students and nurses. I think it's a good advice for life, that people get better with time, and so hopefully that happens. That's really good. So you finish all your classes, all the exams, and all the visits to the labs, and all the human skeletons that you guys spend hours with. Um, how did it feel when eventually your education was done and you came back to Canada to do your, is it housemanship? That's how they call it is that the same thing?
Residency.
Residency, okay. When I was a student in the University of Ghana, they called that housemanship, so pardon me for my French. How was it? How was the transition back? Do you think you have climbed the social ladder? Do people look at you differently? How has it been for you?
So yes, thank you, Albert. So I remember coming back, or at least I remember graduating from medical school, and I think it was one of the happiest days
Oh
of
yeah?
my life. Yes, that I had, somehow been able to accomplish this long, had desire of mine to become a physician. Um, so I was very happy. Sometimes when I look back, it seems like a dream. It seems like the years. I mean, 5 years looks like it went by fast. But I just wanted to before I go ahead and talk about residency, I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
say this as well. I was in a new country where I knew no one.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to make connections with some of my, medical school colleagues, my seniors, and also people within the community as well. Okay,
Mm.
so it was my friends, my colleagues, and the community support, and of course, family support all the way from Canada and also
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria as well. That kind of helped me. So I would hate to say that I did this alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did get a lot of support, especially in Bahrain. I had my church family and were very supportive of me. So, anyways, graduating medical school, like I said, I was very happy. I've accomplished my goal,
So
and
Jen, just before you go on that, so when you were graduating, um, the Bahrain people were in person, your family in Nigeria was on Zoom, your family in Ghana was in Canada was on Skype. How did that whole thing pan out? I mean, you're an
um,
international star, right?
I would say that, yes, I mean it worked okay.
Okay.
At the time when I graduated, it was COVID, so you're right. So a lot of people joined, of course, all around the world. Those who had the links were able to join the ceremony. At this time, I was already in Canada. I moved back because we were not going to have an in-person ceremony
Right.
anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I moved back to Canada, and here I was in my living room watching my own graduation ceremony, you know, and of course, family watching from all around the world as well. So I felt good. I got a lot of congratulating messages, of course.
Totally deserved. Totally deserved. So, a lot of family support, a lot of support from your church, a lot of support from people different parts of the world. How was the transition back? How are things with your current position, and what's keeping you going?
But yes, so I got back to Canada, and of course the goal, even before leaving for my medical education, the goal was to come back to North America, either Canada preferably, or the States. So I had that goal in mind, leaving Canada. So by the time I got back, I was basically preparing to write my board exams.
Okay.
At this time again, because of COVID, a lot of things, a lot of plans that I had didn't pan out, but I was able to write the Canadian one at least upon returning from Bahrain. I wrote those to the grace of God and His glory. I passed them all, and I was able to apply to into the matching. They call it the matching process.
Okay.
Into the CAMS portal to be picked for interviews and subsequently get matched into a program.
Okay. Oh, wow. And that is going well?
Yes, it's currently going well. Initially, it was a bit challenging because, of course, here you are as an international medical graduate, which I am. And what that basically means is you are a medical graduate who didn't attend medical school in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So you had gotten your medical education from outside of the country. So you were termed an international medical graduate. And so starting residency for me was tough because I was new to the system.
Mm-hmm.
I left like 5 years ago. So everything I knew about the way nursing worked in regards to our portal, the system, everything was different by the time I got back. So I had to learn a new system. and maybe learning new culture as well, because again, been a while since I was back. I wasn't. So initially it was a struggle, but daily putting in my best, getting help and support from the program. My program is so supportive, and we're very supportive, and they understood, my situation. They were able to support me.
Good. Well, I'm happy it's going well. I'm pretty excited for you. One of the things that I've always, wanted to do, one of the things that really motivated me to start talking to people about their life and about their story is that ability or that opportunity that we have to influence the future generation. I think we are all in a position to give back. And so looking at your life, I know you sound pretty young. So I know you are not old. I can guess you are pretty young. But looking at your life, but it seems like it has been a very eventful life so far, with all the unique experiences and traveling around for school, showing up at the airport without your winter jacket, and all the fun stuff that you have been able to do. Now, if somebody's listening to us who has a dream, like you did, and once is asking him or herself, is it worth it? Will I be able to achieve it? It seems like everything I see is challenges. I see a very complicated path. What will you tell that person? What will you tell that young person who has a dream but doesn't feel motivated enough to follow the path to achieving that dream?
Yes. So I guess anyone who has this concern, one thing I would say, I guess this person is at least determine what that dream is. That's one. Determine what is this dream and what is the motivation behind it. Because it's that motivation that's gonna keep you in it or keep you going forward. And so once you have determined your motivation, then you go ahead and begin to speak to people who are on the path to which you're trying to get to, or who have already crossed that path. Like was my situation. I remember when I spoke to that medical student who has come for an elective, that kind of gave me the boost to go look. Yeah, so I would say determine what your motivation is. Of course, determine what that dream is, that goal is. What's your motivation? Okay, and then begin to speak to people who are on that path or who have already gone through that path that you're trying to get on. And of course, there are some skills that you would need to stay the course. If you are hoping to be a physician, although people say that we are very smart, which is true, some level of that you would need, but you don't necessarily have to be the smartest person in the world. You definitely need some amount of it, but not, an overwhelming amount. As long as you have that, as long as you're persistent, you know what you want, as long as you're curious, you have a passion for that field, I think you can achieve it. And I would also say, so again, I think I've said it before, just surround yourself with people who are there or who have gone through it. I remember when I was, and in fact, I remember when I first came to Canada, of course, I came in to work, but the people who I surrounded myself with were professionals. And I was able to even imagine the best for myself. I was surrounded by professors, surrounded by nurses, surrounded by pharmacists, by dentists, by physicians. It kind of helped me dream, like even if it wasn't the motivating factor, but I saw that it was possible. You understand? So I firmly believe that the people you hang around could affect the way your life ends up. So what I would say.
I like the point about creating what I call an ecosystem, high value ecosystem for yourself, and using that environment as a good platform to elevate your dreams, if I can put it that way. It's been a very pleasant conversation so far, Jennifer. I want to go on and on and on and chatting with you, but I'm sure Um, you are busy and I have to let you go. But before you go, how does the future look? I know you were an amazing, amazing nurse. I'm sure you are going to be an amazing, amazing doctor once you finish your residency. Um, how does the future look? Are there things that you want to pursue? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. So of course, basically, I'm going to go on to complete my residency program, which is looking like at least in the next 3 years, plus or minus 2, depending on if I do subspecialize. But apart from medicine, I'm also very interested in relationships. I like to see people have relationships that work. So I think that's something that I see myself working on in the future.
Okay. Okay, that's nice. When you are not at the hospital, what do you do?
What I'm
Do
not.
you cook Ghana jollof? What do you do?
Oh man, I'm sure you know that Nigerian jollof rice is way than Ghanaian jollof. No, though. I mean, I do have some Ghanaian friends, so I enjoy Ghanaian jollof, but we still win. We
Okay, what do you do? Are there any pastime? Are there any leisure activities you enjoy doing?
in the local church here
hmm
and other things I do with my friends and colleagues too.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think personally, this has been a very motivational session for me. I most sincerely have enjoyed hearing you talk about your story, and I really like the themes that you talked about in terms of being passionate, in terms of having goals, being determined, surrounding yourself with the right people, not being afraid to ask questions from people who know, and generally being adventurous, taking risk, because I think without any risk, there's no reward. So, on behalf of my listeners, I want to thank you very profusely, my friend Jennifer. It's
Thank you.
been a pleasure having you here. Thank you for sharing your time and your wisdom with us. And I'm sure when your relationship projects fleshes out well, I will invite you here again, and all we'll talk about will be relationships. How about that?
Sounds good. Sounds good, Albert. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll talk again.
Awesome. Take care.
Yeah, thanks.
You are listening to NIMDA Talk.